All right, good morning still, everyone. This is the July 7th, 2026 meeting of the Industrial Development Agency. I'll read the IDA's mission. Fulton County IDA's mission is to drive economic growth and prosperity by preparing shovel-ready sites for development, including commercial enterprise, diverse housing options, workforce development, and tourism. First order of business is to continue our discussion on our IDA investments. If you turn to page two of your agenda, you'll see that back in May, we have moved T-bills 3 and 4 to our ICS account, which earns a 3.5% interest rate. And we've been continuing to meet and discuss future investment profile. We're really looking at three criteria: meet regulatory requirements, earn the best interest rates, provide short-term flexibility. You'll see in the second chart, that is the current T-bill rate as of yesterday. And just want to note that Melinda had emailed Mike to provide us a link to the T-bill rates. And you recommended that we use the daily treasury bill rate. So that's what it is. With that though, she also received from Kevin Corkery his latest T-bill rates, which are a bit different. So I think a little bit different, maybe not too much. Like, you want to look at that? Maybe it's not. The T-bill rates that we're going by are the daily treasury rates. On the chart, and that is, I'm not sure what he uses there. Like,
I'd have to look for it.
yeah. So are they just brought
These
that
are
into
slightly
me?
lower, yeah.
Slightly lower. So
We could find out where he get them.
yeah, maybe we should, just so we're comparing apples to apples.
I just did a quick Google search.
Yeah, exactly. So what were those rates, Mike? For the 3 month? Yeah. So the 3-month rate that Kevin provided was 3.361. 3.361. The 6-month was 3.689. And then they had a 12-month of 3.624. So yeah, we'll when I first saw those, I was like, wow, those are really jumping up now. They're above our 3.5% of our ICS account, which two of them are whatever, doesn't matter what rate we're using here. I don't know if
it may come in handy come October and November that we could.
Yeah.
There's still even if at low end 3.6 or 3.6.
Yeah. So I started last month on our regular board meeting agenda, putting in the rates. And I think I'll add another column, basically just so we can have several months of what the rates are and kind of maybe see a trend here. I'm not sure if you guys are seeing anything else as far as T-bill rates. A trend now, but not sure.
No, I couldn't.
Yeah, nothing's gonna happen right now.
Yeah. The rate trend is pretty, you go out on the curve, it's still pretty flat.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah,
So-
like if you go out to 10 years, it's still pretty flat. I don't want to get out over 12 months because
Right.
if you wanted to sell your position, these aren't necessarily the rates
Right.
you would get to sell your position.
Would you agree, Mike? Like, I still think we're in a period of volatility because
Yes.
short-term volatility, which, who knows, 6 months, 12 months, I'll not use the word transitory, but it's short-term and then it should, the rest of the balance or the curve looks more predictable as you get a little further out. There's just too many geopolitical things right now that could change rates, very quickly. So, yeah.
And I mean, the 3.5 that we're generating right now in our ICS account, that seems to be stable.
Yes.
Right? That's a stable. So
Like early in the year, they were talking about it might come down, but after last Fed meeting, the Fed indicated that there's probably a federal funds rate increase.
okay. So we may
So
see an
we-
increase in that.
Well, the federal funds aren't necessarily tied to the
Okay.
bond market, directly, but they do have influence, so. People aren't gonna be buying bonds if they think the rate's going up.
Okay.
So, well, how that does tie into the ICS account, so
Mhm.
there probably won't be a decrease if the Fed's talking about increasing the rate.
Okay. So, I mean, that's basically, the latest rates, I guess you could say. I don't know if there's any further discussion we want to have today on our investments and,
I think we make the board aware that
Right.
these are the rates. They seem
Sure.
still within the window and competitive with the ICS, so no reason to make a quick
I
change
think
now.
with all the projects we've got
Yep.
coming up, we wanna keep these liquid and flexible.
Yeah. I'd really love to do like the cost of what is 10 bips on what we're talking about anyway, so that people understand how much it is, quote unquote, we're sacrificing by not taking the higher rate or chasing a higher rate. I don't believe it's as much as people would probably. I mean, how much are we talking about that we had in the T-bills before?
And every million, 10 bips is $10,000 for a year,
For the
for
year,
the year,
for the year, for $1 million,
for on every million.
right?
yeah,
So it's $1,000 for every 100, right?
Right.
Right.
okay. Well, I think you're right though, Mike. I mean, obviously, we're gonna get into the grant disbursement agreement.
Yeah.
on Our one grant, then we have a second one that's coming up that, we probably won't receive that one until September or October, but definitely be laying out some cash here in the coming
Sure,
months.
sure.
All right, so move on to an update on our Fast New York grant. You'll see on the top of page 3. Those are the costs associated with the grant for the water system improvements, the wastewater system improvements, the soils and the demolition for just over $9.9 million grant. Last Thursday, I believe, ESD sent to me the draft grant disbursement agreement. They have rounded the grant to $9 million even. They've included our minority and women-owned business enterprise goals of 30%. And our service disabled veteran owner business at 6%. So we do have those parameters now. And I will be discussing those with both Environmental Design Partnership as well as CT Mail to see how we can meet those percent requirements based upon who we're going to be soliciting the bid proposals to, et cetera, et cetera. There is a waiver, I believe, that we can submit, but obviously we have to show good faith efforts that we're trying to meet those parameters. There's a 1% non-refundable commitment fee that will be required when the final grant disbursement is executed, and that is $90,000. And then, as you know, we are required to have 10% equity match, which they have identified as $999,125. See our 3 current engineering contracts that we have for out at the moment. Additional follow-up, if you turn to the next page, you'll see I took directly from the grant disbursement agreement what they have identified as their financing uses, as well as the amounts in the grant disbursement agreement now. Okay. Today, at 10 o'clock, actually, I had a Zoom call with the project manager, who's Simone Bethune, and then our design and construction manager, who's Marty Pykush, to discuss reimbursements that we can make, as well as the buckets of work we have and how the dollars can move from one to the other. As I've indicated in the past, I questioned, okay, under the financing uses, we have water, wastewater, pipes, valves, pumps. So that's obviously for our water work. And they have a dollar figure of $3.5 million. I said, well, what happens if we go over budget when we bid the project or under budget? How does that work? And they basically said that you will receive a reimbursement up to $9 million. As long as we can verify that whatever work you're doing fits under those funding uses, you're good to go. So you can shift money around however you need to shift it.
We're just hoping that all of them are over.
Yeah, exactly. We're having better up to 100.
And quick question on this,
go ahead.
one figure here, is that supposed to be 10% of this figure?
I believe it's the overall project.
Is it would be 999,512?
Yeah.
Just that look at 90,000 off, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, that's exactly what's in their GDA, so,
Okay.
they have a 1% commitment fee and a 10% local match, so it's, you know, that's what it is, but, so those are the figures, so I was happy to hear that, you know, we can adjust dollars here and there, as long as they fall in those buckets.
Yep.
The other, first of all, I've not had time to go over the entire GDA. But I will do that before our board meeting. My second question was in regards to how we request reimbursement. And they basically told me that once the final grant disbursement agreement is executed, you are able to request reimbursement anytime thereafter. So it can be as many reimbursements as we want. And so we have some flexibility there. Marty, who's the person that I'll be sending the majority of the reimbursement requests to, you know, there's about 20 different forms, the affidavits and everything else that we have to have the contractor sign off, and a lot of information that we have to file for the reimbursement. He basically said the first time is, you know, usually there's a couple of questions that we have to get corrected. So he said he would try to move them along as quickly as possible. But they're still saying, you know, anywhere between 3 to 6 months.
That's my question.
Once they say, oh, once they have their checkbox and they move it on to the next step, you're talking 3 or 6 months before you see the dollars. So I know that we've been waiting for this GDA to go forward to seek some bridge funding or whatever we're going to call it. So I guess that's my next question that I want to just have in conversation is, are we ready to do that? Or do you think that I need to basically come up with how much cash equity we have or liquid cash we have available? Not really
Are
sure.
we going to have, I mean, because once we, I mean, the good thing is, like you said, you can have 15 or 20 submittals, you know, in the pipeline.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna trip them, so we just have to know that we're not going, if we've got $2.5 million liquid or so, or we have 3 million. That we, well, the worst case scenario, 6 months that we don't have to worry about. Once it starts coming in, then we don't, it just keeps flopping over until we project's over. So,
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna,
I
I think
think if we
getting both
have-
projects pretty at about the same time.
okay, demolition can always wait.
Demolition and the soils work was gonna wait till next year.
Okay, so. I mean,
Water and
just saying,
wastewater will be bidding hopefully September, October-ish.
So you're talking,
November, December, maybe even before that. And I mean, usually it's a little bit for the contractor to get going. It's usually when our first invoice will probably hit December, I'm thinking, maybe at the time, I'm thinking December. That could be a large invoice depending on how the contractor works, whether they're gonna buy all their supplies ASAP and have it delivered. Obviously, you know, once it's delivered, basically they want their dollars for
at
that.
most it's $3.8 million for the time, right? That's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I think we're gonna have cash on hand if you want, so.
yeah.
You're gonna need a bank now,
Yeah,
line of credit. You just don't work.
Just
But I also want
So
to see,
cause your contractors aren't gonna wait 3 to 6 months to get paid. They're gonna bill you 30 days. They're gonna pay you, they're gonna buy, and probably at the end of every month, they're gonna send you a requisition. This is material, this is like, we're broken out by materials and labor. And then they're gonna wanna be paid in 30 days. So we're gonna need a line of credit to draw on that, and then we wait for the reimbursement to pay down that line of credit. But that line of credit's never gonna be at $9 million, in my opinion.
Right.
And I still owe you kind of a form of how, month by month, I would think this would cash flow out.
Right, right. Okay.
and I guess especially for the county be able to take things out of their reserves and everything, because again, this is to benefit them. This is a county project. When you said to them, yes, go to the bank. But if you said you need $1 million transfer and we say we're gonna pay, we pay the bank 5% or whatever the case may be. You do 5%.
County's probably not allowed to lend, would be my guess.
What's that?
My guess is the county's not allowed to lend.
I haven't broached the subject with,
You can check.
anyone.
Karen, did you hear my question, or whether we could go to our own county administrator, John Stead, and see if we could have a line of credit through them, or if we needed $1 million or $2 million, could they take it out of their reserve fund if we paid them back in interest? Because they're getting, their reserve is getting interest summers. So if we say we can match it or give them a higher rate, because we're talking about having a line of credit with the bank, which we made for the bigger credit, the 15 million or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if that's something the county was willing to do, you have the authority to do that on your end. I don't know what the county's rules are with respect to their reserve funds, or if they're able to loan it out. My guess is that they probably can't loan it out. But
Okay.
I don't want to speak for the county.
But it could be a simple loan.
Right. And some of the funds are probably restricted for use.
Yeah, through their budgeting process and things
Right.
like that. So, I don't know if they have like some sort of reserve account with, funds that would qualify like for this particular project but
Yeah, usually, the county has economic development projects. We use the tobacco settlement funds.
yeah,
Tobacco settlement funds,
Right,
which the county, rather than just spending those funds, like upgrading, county buildings, we basically just, the Board of Supervisors always had agreement that we're gonna use those for like special economic development projects, so I don't know what's in that account right now. I'll just ask. I'll ask the question. And hey, if the county can make a little additional interest in what they're getting, maybe that's beneficial for them.
Right. We're not asking them, we're asking them to lend it to us and we'll pay it back.
Right.
Yeah, so it's just a quick thing, just like, we did it with the CRG for advancement of money, so we paid $1,000 and we're supposed to get that back.
I'll ask the question.
Okay.
If they have an interest in looking at that or not, I'll start with John Stead and, Mr. Brock. There.
But coming back to what you said, and I think to your point, Mike, we have to have some backup, right? So yes, we could likely fund, but having that as that second backup plan for it because of the timing. I would also add that we might have another project, right? And you have it. So I think at some point that line, whether it be through the county or through a bank, has to happen.
The bank's gonna want to do project specific.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. But if the county likes to do this, then, maybe it works out for the next
But we're
project.
saying, based on this, if we think that first two line items, maybe your line
4 million.
4 million.
Right.
And this is gonna get paid back before you start getting invoices for
Right.
the demolition.
I would agree.
Okay.
When you do reimbursements, Scott, are you thinking, because yes, you can do it as often as you want, doesn't matter for your process. For us, does it make sense to do it at a cadence, like we're gonna do this every month, or we're gonna trigger it when it's X number of dollars? How do you see that?
Yeah, it won't be every month, I don't think. I guess it'll really depend on how quickly the projects are moving and how quickly the invoices are coming in. I mean, some contractors are really quick about giving you the invoices and some they'll wait a little bit longer, you just don't know.
I think we should maybe talk about the threshold.
Thresholds.
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's
Because
probably,
again, yeah, I don't want you to submit.
25,000.
Right.
For 1 month, if, you know, wait till.
Yeah.
right.
Something.
So I guess maybe for the board meeting, and I guess I should have had that today, is maybe I'll just have, you know, all of our accounts, what we have in those accounts, and
Yeah.
what we all agree to say, okay. Are we going to, you know, $3 million, are we willing to utilize this? And then that's kind of our starting point
Right.
to going to either the county and or a bank
Right.
to say, okay, this is the liquid asset we have. This is
Because
the
we have-
grant.
Because we have that in, already, right?
The ICS account.
The ICF account.
Yeah,
But when you transfer those two plus the administrative fee plus, sale of the property, we've got. We
You have access to 3 million.
yeah, we have a procurement, so that's.
yeah.
So maybe, and then you still have new CDs. In October, November.
I think we're saying it about
Was curious. I think
Okay,
there were enough money. We need more.
yeah, so, so are you gonna be able to put that spreadsheet together and
Yeah.
work on it together
Yeah.
or whatever, and it'd be good to have a little help on that, I think.
Because then you can put in estimated submission for reimbursement, right? If you're doing a month of outflows, and you can go, okay, we're gonna estimate that the first week of September is gonna be our first, whatever, I'm making it up, our first draw for, or reimbursement drawback from the state from the grant, so.
Well, you're gonna have expenditures, so we're gonna be expending money every month, and then 3 to 6 months later, you're gonna see the reimbursement.
For each one of those,
So-
the
Yeah.
echo effect of those, yeah.
Yeah, the echo effect, right?
Right.
I wouldn't wait too long, right? That's my point is, what is it, 3 months, 3 to 6 months, so,
I got a format I can use.
yeah.
Yeah,
Monthly to me is clean, just because accounting and
Yes.
budgeting, and it just and I would assume most of these contractors are gonna work very similarly on a monthly basis. So that's why I bring that up, but I also think, you know, you could get hit with $750,000 and you're like, let's not wait a month. Let's put that bill in, but
Kara,
Yep.
will the IDA need to sign off, through a motion or what have you, proving a payment to each of the contractors for X amount? Or is that something that I can do at my level?
Can we authorize him as a board to have that ability or power of attorney?
I would like to authorize the payments when they become available, like when they become due.
Yeah, like when I receive, when these projects are undergoing and, you know, I get a $100,000 invoice from a contractor, do I have to wait and bring that to the next, board meeting and authorize that payment, or am I gonna be able to just make that payment?
What I would recommend is that once the bid is accepted, or awarded, that when that contract is approved, then the board also in that same resolution authorize you to make payments as they become due, so they're all timely. When that happens, so that you can make those, and then you can just report at it at the next meeting with you when you go over the budget. But
Okay.
that's what I would do, so you don't have to wait every month.
Okay, all right,
Well, you know, sometimes we get bills from lawyers and we have to approve them at our next meeting, you know?
Yeah, but the difference, I know you're teasing, but the difference is that when the contract gets awarded, you're gonna know what the amount is.
Right,
So
yeah.
you be essentially approved that, you know, flat rate that they've come up with, and then all the invoices are gonna be approved and signed off on by the engineer, project manager too. So once it's presented to the IDA and Scott, then you've essentially already committed to make that payment in full. Now, if there's a change order or something, then that needs to come back to the board for increase.
yeah, correct, okay.
So, are we gonna engage a independent project manager to monitor? So we're gonna have to pay a project
Yeah,
manager.
it's like that. That'll be,
And I,
someone from each firm. So EDP, you mean like a construction manager?
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
To go in and say, hey, we got a bill from the contractor for this work, and we have somebody independently go out that, yes, that work was completed.
typically the way I do that is it's an additional construction administration fee for each firm. So EDP, they'll have a construction manager. CT Mail will have a construction manager. And that person will be out in the field with those contractors. If there's, if something needs to be redesigned in the field, they can say, okay, let's do it this way. But then they receive the first invoice, they sign off on that, making sure everything's in order, and then it comes to me for final signature and payment. That's typically how we'll do it. So there'll be a construction administration for both CT Mail and EDP.
Okay.
I have that, and I tried to come up with, that's why we included some soft costs.
Yep.
It's usually not terrible, but. So, yeah.
Yeah, I saw.
Right. All right, so the plan forward is I will contact Mr. Stead about that, just have the discussion.
Mhm.
You'll kind of start working on this schedule, what have you. Hopefully in the meantime, you'll be able to take a closer look at the GDA.
So on this, we think the first two items are probably gonna get done in 26.
They will commence in 26. Basically, the water is the most important. The water piece is critical for a project that we have a try on. The wastewater piece, we're gonna start that work, but that's not as critical right now. So the water piece is definitely the one that we're really pushing to, for timeline reasons.
Okay.
So, but yeah,
Well, I'm laying out that.
And, and once we do the bid, we're gonna have a completion date too, so.
Yeah.
Year, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, once all those bid specs, are 90% draft or what have you, we'll probably call another finance committee meeting, and I'll have each of those firms come in and just kind of go over it with us. Because there's some things that I learned today that I would like to include in the front ends of the project specifications, and that includes all of these exhibits that we will require the contractor to complete for us. Okay, so there's various forms that ESD requires when we seek reimbursement that the contractor has to complete. They have to have an affidavit that, yes, we were paid this, so, and what I don't want to get stuck with is after the fact, I'm trying to send these forms to the contractor, so you gotta complete this or I can't seek my reimbursement. I want to raise the tax.
When they give you the.
You are gonna be required to do this, so.
Right.
So we're gonna include that, I'll determine which ones we need to add in there. And, there'll be a time frame of when I'm gonna need them to do that too, so I wanna have some teeth in those project specs and the final agreement that they know that they're required to do this because I need them to do this. But yeah, so there's a lot of exhibits, that we'll need to, that I'll need to complete. This is really similar to the first ESD grant that we received at the Tryon Park. When we were doing the internal loop road and demoing buildings and everything, we received, I think it was around a $4 million grant or something like that from ESD. A lot of it was the same. So I'm familiar with it, but still, the one thing I did learn is I don't want to be chasing contractors later.
Right.
And we didn't put that in the specs before. I'm like, we're going to this thing. So,
If you need a contract to do something, do it when you're paying them.
yeah, yes, exactly. Going through it later. So, all right. Any other discussion on that at the moment?
I think I just I started reading this draft last night. Kara, I have a question for you.
Mhm.
And this draft of the CSD grant, I mean, the first one says, the grantee, which is the IDA, represents one that currently employs not less than a baseline employment. There's lots of references to our employment. I mean, we have a very limited number of employees. We're
Yeah,
not,
in the exhibits, they waived that requirement.
okay,
So that should be fine, because they said this is not an employment, producing project in the exhibits.
yeah, I started to read this before the US got wasted.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that second, 60
I mean, it's mostly exhibits. It's a lot of it. I mean, it's kind of like their blanket agreement. It's not gonna probably, be modified at all.
I mean, the project is ultimately gonna generate tax revenue and jobs.
Right, but they're saying that the project itself is the infrastructure piece that will thereafter create it. So
Okay.
I didn't, yeah, I saw that too, but then the exhibit kind of waives that.
Okay.
Kara, are you working with any other IDAs that have received Fast New York funding right now?
Yes, but that haven't started getting reimbursements yet. So if that was the question, they're kind of like in the same stage you guys are in.
Okay, all right, just wondering. Yeah, so so ESD now, they're holding a public hearing. I think I sent that information to you yesterday as well. Once that public hearing is completed, and then there's a period of time that they wait for additional comments. So I think they're saying in August, we should receive the final GDA. So I guess moving forward, will we be required to have the final executed GDA prior to going to lending?
We can take this
Okay, we can take it, okay.
and start the process.
Start the process.
I
So,
recommend that we start the process so we can get any questions that they have answered and and they'll know that it's contingent on getting it.
yeah, okay. Okay. All right. Oh, was there any other questions?
We worked on a number of these where, the grant has not been finalized. We know the approximate amount, and the amount usually doesn't change, it's just.
So Scott, you mentioned anytime, just then here, it talks about it being no more than quarterly for reimbursements. So just, again, might be just their standard language, but they say you can't submit more frequently than quarterly. And that if we submit a bill, the way I'm reading it, if you submit a bill for $1 million, they're only going to give you 900,000 back.
Yeah.
They're going to take the 10% off of every bill
Yep.
we submit. Okay, yeah, I just wanted to.
Yep.
But the good thing is quarterly submissions are better than, I originally thought that this grant wasn't gonna get funded
At the end.
till the end.
Yeah, I think it's,
$9 million.
yeah,
Right, and then you get, right. Having the fact that we can put in requisitions quarterly,
right.
just,
And they can be locked.
right.
So just a point to ask them again, I don't want you to think that we can do it and then
Yeah.
they're going, no.
Yeah, the way they made it sound was, do it as often as possible, but I will.
As often as possible, 4 times a year.
I was surprised that there wasn't a structure in here. But,
Yeah.
But that's better than I thought it was gonna be.
yeah.
I mean,
That was at the end of the
So
project.
I'll confirm and let you know that is the case. And then that'll helps us out actually, that we know what our parameter is. Go from there, so.
How's that?
All right. Yep, now I'd like to call for an executive session for the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property, or the proposed acquisition of securities, or sale or exchange of securities held by such public body, but only when publicly would substantially affect the value thereof. Somebody like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Dan, is there a second? Joe, for discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. All right, we're out of executive session at 12:21. Make a motion to close the meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Dan,
Yeah, you're quick, we tell you.
second by Joe. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are closed.
Thank you, Kara.
Thanks, Kara.
Thanks, Eric.
See you next